Now introducing Green Party candidate for Parry Sound-Muskoka, Matt Richter.
Oh, thank you. Let's get started. To begin, we acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, in particular, the Ojibwe, the Chippewa, and the Algonquins people. This area is protected under the Williams Treaty, and forever in the past and moving forward, we recognize the significant contribution that all Indigenous peoples have played in shaping and strengthening this very community, our province, and our country as a whole. I would also like, on behalf of the Green Party of Ontario, to take this opportunity to reaffirm our commitment to the calls to action in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Hello, bonjour, and ani. Matt Richter Indignikas. My name is Matt Richter. And on behalf of all of us here today, right here in Huntsville of Parry Sound-Muskoka, I am proud to say I am your Ontario Green Party candidate heading into this 2022 election. And coming off such a historic moment last evening, when Mike Schreiner took to the leaders debate for the first time in our history and truly showed all of us here in Parry Sound-Muskoka and all of Ontario what real leadership looks like. Behind me and across this riding are an exceptional team of volunteers, and we have reached over 30,000 voters already. And across our riding, we have heard it time and time again that people are looking for real change, change that is going to bring a real plan with real action to deliver solutions to our ongoing affordable housing crisis. The Ontario Greens are the one party that have a masterclass housing policy that is going to deliver reasonable rent, a place to call home, and communities that can thrive. Everyone, I have to my midst here the leader of the Ontario Green Party, Mike Schreiner, who is going to share the solutions needed to make life more affordable right here in Parry Sound-Muskoka. Everyone, give it up for Mike Schreiner.
Can we give it up for Matt Richter, your MPP for Parry Sound-Muskoka? The energy here in Parry Sound-Muskoka for the Ontario Greens is electric, because we know that Matt is delivering new solutions to the old problems so many people in this riding are facing. And as I travel across the province, and given the time I've spent here in Parry Sound-Muskoka all across this riding with Matt, people tell me over and over again they are struggling to find an affordable place to call home. A whole generation of young people are wondering if they'll ever be able to afford a place to call home. And I'm so proud of the work that Matt has been doing over the last few years, particularly with his Unlock Affordable Housing campaign that he's been doing for years. And so now is the moment. Now is the moment over the next 2 weeks to deliver the real change the voters of Parry Sound-Muskoka need and want. Along with Matt, I'm proud to release our housing affordability strategy specifically designed for Parry Sound-Muskoka. First, we will offer zero interest loans up to $25,000 for people to build secondary suites, basement apartments, and accessory apartments to their homes here to create more affordable rental supply, and to create an additional revenue stream, especially for first-time home buyers and people who want to own their home and just need a little extra income to make it happen. In the mid-1990s, a previous conservative government cut funding for community-based rental housing in this province. And every year since then, the housing affordability crisis has been getting worse and worse and worse. And now it's at a breaking point. And the Ontario Greens are saying it is time for the province to come back to the table and put money on the table to build affordable housing spaces. So we are committed to building 1,000 community affordable rental homes in Parry Sound-Muskoka. As part of our plan to build 100,000 affordable rental homes in this province. And let's be clear, as I look out at the beauty that is Huntsville, what is so spectacular about this riding of Parry Sound-Muskoka, we will increase housing supply, and we will do it while maintaining urban boundaries so we can protect the nature that protects us, the nature that provides the foundation of the wealth and prosperity and what people love about living in Sound-Muskoka. Ontario Greens have a plan to continue to build more housing supply and protect 30% of nature in this province. And there's one thing I think Doug Ford needs to realize. The people of Parry Sound-Muskoka, especially in this region of Muskoka, they know what flooding looks like. I was here a few years ago with Matt, and I met a couple that had moved to Muskoka to retire and build their dream home. And he told me that he built the home 2 meters above the highest flood level ever recorded in Ontario's history, or in this region's history. And twice now, in the last half decade or so, this particular individual has had to pump water, put sandbags to save their dream home. We are in a climate emergency. We can address the climate emergency and we can address the housing affordability crisis. But I need green MPPs like Matt Richter to come to Queen's Park to deliver the policy solutions the people of Parry Sound-Muskoka need and deserve. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, thanks. We'll start with any questions from the floor. Do you mind just coming here?
Hi, we were just talking about how big this riding is. Like, how will you decide, or have you decided kind of where to build the affordable homes, and how to break that down across the region?
Yeah, it'll be broken down by need. I mean, obviously, you want to go and build in the communities where there is the most need to address the most significant affordability challenges people face. I will say, in terms of loans, that's available all across the riding because we know and all across the province for that matter, because we know there are so many people in the province who want to build those additional housing spaces and have that additional revenue and income being potentially available to them. But in terms of where we determine where to build deeply affordable homes, that will be determined by need.
Well, about your choice to come, make a stop here today after you had, a pretty strong performance in the debate, being well reviewed, and there's a lot of attention on the green platforms right now, just from people that were just introduced to you. Like, why was it important to be here with Matt's campaign today?
Well, we have a tremendous amount of momentum all across the province, but I think especially here in Parry Sound-Muskoka, where Matt Richter has performed so well in the last provincial election and is building the momentum of what a winning campaign looks like. A lot of what I'm feeling here in Parry Sound-Muskoka right now is what I felt in Guelph in the 2018 provincial election when we elected our first seat. And we are building the momentum of a winning campaign to elect the next Green MPP in Ontario right here in Parry Sound-Muskoka.
Mike, in terms of the housing need here, can you give us a bit of a description, and maybe actually Matt might want to weigh in on this as well, as what makes the housing need here distinct from the housing need in Toronto or Guelph?
Yeah, I'm going to let Matt answer specifically on it, but I want to just quickly outline a few things. So first of all, a big part of the foundation of the economy here is the tourism sector. And in my meetings with tourism operators, in some cases, they're finding challenges attracting staff because their staff don't have an affordable place to live here. And during the pandemic, especially as more people left some of the larger urban areas to come to just amazingly beautiful spaces that you have in communities that you have here in Parry Sound-Muskoka, that's even put more pressure on housing. And so the housing affordability challenge is something that predates the pandemic, as Matt has been working on for a number of years now, but certainly was made worse during the pandemic. Matt, if you want to answer more specifically.
Yeah, and to continue to that point, organizations like Prompt, GAP down in Gravenhurst Against Poverty, this has been ongoing as a crisis level since the third time I ran back in 2014. But to the point of what makes it so unique is that it's a hidden issue sometimes up here, as we are seen in Muskoka and Parry Sound and Almaguin, but we are seen as a place where there are luxury estates and a massive amount of wealth. But the furthest is from the truth when it comes to the affordable housing crisis that is so real and dire. I use examples often from Parry Sound to Almaguin and right here in Huntsville, that there are young families that can only afford a one-bedroom apartment, and the current rental rate monthly is in the ballpark of $1,600 up. And that's across our entire riding. And people, even from the city and the GTA, are coming up here thinking they're going to find a place to call home, and they're not able to afford our riding any longer. Clearly, this is an issue that comes to business, as Mike said, but even our local Muskoka Algonquin Healthcare identified the lack of housing as the #1 issue in healthcare in our riding right now, because nurses, personal support workers, and healthcare staff can't even afford a place to call home here right now. So it is a dire situation and quite unique here in our riding.
Thank you.
Hi, this one goes out to either one of you, but when you mentioned the 1,000 new units of affordable housing in Parry Sound-Muskoka, what kind of form would that take? Would that be new builds, or would that be repurposing existing structures?
Yes, we are. These would be, I think these would be new builds. We've already got plans in place to repurpose and retrofit existing affordable housing spaces. It could be conversions of non-affordable to affordable, though, using existing structures. And I'm going to let Matt talk about some of the examples. Like, we were in Parry Sound a couple weeks ago, just looking at a wonderful example of repurposing a school and turning it into affordable housing, which is an example of how you could repurpose an existing structure.
Yeah, in fact, it was about a month ago, and this particular place was a former public school, and it revealed how dire or how necessary it is that good public policy takes advantage of current public assets like schools, and when they come to end of life, that they can be repurposed for affordable housing solutions. They created 40 rental units, a community gym, there was a daycare and an early years center all within. And the current rate monthly is $850 or less. And that falls definitely within the level of affordability. But, right here, even in Huntsville, actually about a kilometer behind us, there was a local developer that was looking to help out with the greater good. And he was all set to further his development, but he was somewhat held back because of current policy that didn't allow him to, because he had to prioritize parking spaces over building, because there's current legislation and current policy that says you need to have so many parking spaces for so many units. Well, when many people don't even require a vehicle in this particular situation, it's quite bizarre to have public policy that says you have to prioritize a parking space over an actual housing unit. So there's so many solutions that can be used in that regard too, to further build to build up the supply that's so needed.
Right. And do you have an idea of the timeline of those 1,000 units?
As fast as possible, which is one of the reasons that repurposing existing spaces repurposing existing buildings into new housing spaces is an important component of what we're proposing, because oftentimes that can be accelerated much faster because the base structure is already in place. We are proposing flowing that money as fast as possible.
I'm going to read out the question just because we're having some tech issues, and on the same line as you're talking about just now with the debate. Question from Adam Donaldson. Question for Mike. Was the leaders' debate everything that you hoped it would be?
You know, last night was a historic moment. Greens have worked long and hard to earn our space on the debate stage. And the fact that last night was the first debate Ontario's had with 4 party leaders was a milestone that I think is significant for the growth of our party and of our movement. I think we delivered the message that we wanted to deliver. New solutions to old problems. Talking about the solutions that will make a difference in improving people's lives. Spending less time on, hyper-partisan attacks, and spending more time talking about how we would do things differently from government, but what we would do to improve people's lives, especially when it comes to addressing the housing affordability crisis, the need to invest in people to expand healthcare capacity, and the need to address the climate crisis. My only disappointment from last night, quite frankly, is that more time wasn't devoted to addressing the climate emergency. I mean, throughout most of the debate, I was the only party leader who really addressed how we can address the climate crisis in a way that addresses people's cost of living concerns and sets Ontario up to be a global leader in the emerging markets of the new climate economy.
All right. And we have another question from Adam Donaldson. This one's for Matt. Matt, what do you think you can do over the few weeks to quote unquote seal the deal? Trying to seal a seat at Queen's Park.
Well, Adam, it's going to take a team, and I have a mighty team behind me here, but it's going to take a lot of teamwork. With the team we have here and growing, we have over 300 volunteers. We have over 1,000 lawn signs on private property. We've already knocked on over 30,000, knocked on doors and made phone calls, and we've hit 30,000 voters, but we need to do more. So we need to make sure that we keep building that momentum. It's a two-way race right now between the Conservatives and myself, Matt Richter. And to get it done, it's going to take a united, strong effort from one side of the riding to the next. So let's go, Green Team. Let's go.
All right. That looks like it's all the questions. So back over to you.
Well, thanks, everyone. I appreciate you all being here today. And I appreciate you experiencing the momentum that we're building in Parry Sound-Muskoka. A party that's standing up for new solutions to the old problems that people in this riding have faced, especially when it comes to addressing the housing affordability crisis. The Ontario Greens are committed to ensuring that everyone in this province has an affordable place to call home. And we do it in a way that protects people and the places we love, to ensure that we're climate ready and resilient and prepared for the future. And so I especially today want to give a quick shout out to young voters. the future is in your hands. I know so many of you are worried about whether you'll ever be able to afford a home. You're worried about the escalating severity of climate-fueled weather events. And I want to say to you that the Ontario Greens are here to fight for your future, to fight for our future. And we need more Green MPPs like Matt Richter to build the Ontario you want. Thank you all for being here today.
Go team. Come on, go team, go team. Here we are. Oh, well, that's fine. I'd like to follow up for everybody here right now who's shown so much commitment and time, and to all the volunteers who aren't able to be here. I want everybody to know, to further to Adam's question, that to seal the deal, obviously we need everybody to get out and vote. And then we need everybody in the meantime to get out and foot canvas. And I'm going to point to arguably maybe as famous, but just maybe, well, I think in the same ballpark of fame, following Mike's performance last night, was Jackie. Followed up on TV Ontario, the agenda. She was phenomenal. Jackie, can you put up your hand? Now, the reason I'm giving Jackie a shout out is I need everybody to reach out to Jackie and just commit to what you can do or what you think others can do to join myself and our growing team